Data Voyagers.
There is a moment in every great match that nobody saw coming. The pass no model would recommend, the run that made no sense until it did. We watch sports for that, the thing you cannot predict. And yet, right now, somewhere behind that pitch, a room full of people is trying to predict exactly that, measuring every step, every sprint, every heartbeat. The most human, chaotic, emotional thing we do, the beautiful game, Jogo Bonito, has quietly become one of the most measured things on the planet. Most fans never think about it. We see the goal, we see the magic, and we give credit to the talent, to instinct, to genius. We're not wrong, but we're not seeing the whole picture either. Because under the magic, there is math. And the team that reads the math better is more and more often the team that lifts the trophy. The idea makes a lot of people uncomfortable. We want sports to be pure. We want it to be hard, not spreadsheets. We would rather not know what the spontaneous corner that won the game was drawn on a screen 3 days earlier. But this is not a story about data replacing the magic. It's a story about data decoding the magic. And it did not start on a football pitch at all. It started with a broke baseball team that could not afford to lose the way everyone else did. Hello, Data Voyagers. I am Igor Alcantara. Oi, pessoal. Today, if you're watching this on video, this is it's a different day, special day. So I'm wearing my Brazilian jersey. Vai Brasil. And I'm always here joined by my brilliant co-host from the Netherlands, fellow Qlik ambassador, Angelika Klidas. Angelika, thanks for being here.
Hey, hoi Igor en hoi allemaal. Fijn dat jullie er weer zijn bij deze prachtige podcast. En
Yes.
I'm wearing orangey today because, of course, my team, the Netherlands, is playing, I believe, as well. So there we go.
All
So
right.
today is a special day because there is something different than the last times.
Exactly. So we have no guests.
No.
It's just the two of us, like classic episode, which means we got to do whatever we want with no adult supervision. And we pick a good week for it because the World Cup is here. We're playing when we're recording, the World Cup is already here, and when this release, the World Cup is already here. We hope when this episode is released, our both teams are still doing good. I said privately the Netherlands is I'll say my third team. So Brazil first, Netherlands third, second is whoever is playing against Argentina, and this World Cup is different because for the first time it's played for three different countries. So we had World Cup played in two different countries before, Japan and Korea. Good memories. 22, Brazil won. But this time it's across three countries: the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So all North America. And we are doing we're doing an episode here about data in sports analytics. And it goes beyond Moneyball. So we start with the World Cup. We go back to where the whole thing in data analytics actually began to be like a bigger thing. It since we have statisticians working in sport that like it's much older than that, and then computers. So we had like some kind of very primitive analytics in sports, but there was one event that we discussed that actually this became bigger and came to the center stage. But before we have a quick reminder, so would you mind, Angelika, to take the honors
Yeah,
and
sure,
give us
sure,
a
sure.
quick
So
reminders?
before we actually geek out this time, make sure you subscribe to the Data Voyages on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever you get for your podcasts. And I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Do it now. I mean it, because it really will help us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search for Data Voyages channels and click on subscribe. There is a lot of good content there. A lot of articles that Igor has written, some articles that I've written, and other guest writers are writing articles about topics that are so actual at this moment. But you can also follow our page on LinkedIn. Just look for us there. Follow us on Instagram, Data Voyages Podcast, and there is much more on our website, datavoyages.net, like a true, nice web shop with all kinds of amazing things. So show your support, follow us, share our content, and send it to your friends, family, and colleagues. And we're about to start, but before, let's hear some words from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by IPC Global. Here's what this whole episode is really about. The teams that win are not always the ones with the most data. They are the ones who turn that data into a decision and move before the other side does. Now, IPC Global does not wire up hockey players, I checked, but taking a massive pile of data and turning that into something you can actually act on, that is exactly what they do for businesses. IPC Global is an advisory, consultant, implementation, and development partner across data, analytics, cloud, and AI. So they help you figure it out, the smart move first. Then they build it. Whether you are trying to make sense of your numbers, move to the cloud without the drummer, or finally doing something real with AI instead of just talking about it, IPC Global is the team that makes that happen. And here's the part nobody likes to admit. AI is only as good as the data underneath. A brilliant model sitting on messy data just gives you confident, expensive, dangerous mistakes. IPC Global starts where the real work is, with your data quality, and gets your company really AI ready. So when you make that move, you are building on solid ground instead of guessing. Think of them as your gate to the future. They make sure you walk through ready, not hoping. And they do this with the best in the game. IPC Global is a proud partner of Qlik, of Entropic, and AWS. So if you like what Angelika and I do here on the data side, IPC Global is the team that does it for a living. Find them at ipc-global.com. Now, back to the World Cup.
Let me start off where Igor left, right? Left on the pitch right now in this tournament. The FIFA soccer is the FIFA soccer game World Cup is going on now, and because a lot of what is happening out there is data, and most of the people do not have an idea about that. So if you look at start by tracking data, every player on the pitch is being followed many times per second. Cameras, optimal tracking, sometimes a chip in the ball, sometimes even elements of sensors in the clothing of the players. They wear the shirts, right, behind their, under their playing shirts to try with a GPS tracker on it. So the broadcast can tell you not only who just scored, but how much ground a midfielder covered, what their top sprint speed was, how the whole team shifted shape between defending and attacking. And there's the phrase everybody is going to hear this summer, whether they want or not. It's the expected goals. XG, it's called. Let me explain it in the way I would usually do at a bar when I have a beer. Expected goals is a quality score for a chance. You take a shot, and based on thousands of similar shots from that spot, from that angle, from that situation, the model says this one had, say, a 30% chance of going in. So add up all of the team's chances, and you get a number that tells you how well they created, not just whether they got lucky, but so you will see a team lose 1-0 and win the XG by a mile. And fans say we are robbed. We were robbed during this game, and the data quietly agrees with them. Or the opposite. You score three. The model says you should have scored none. Go light a candle. So the one that I love most is passing networks. You can map a whole team as a web. Who connects to who, where the play actually flows, and it shows you things your eyes miss. A team can look balanced, and the map shows everything going through one player on the left. And even sometimes we see that right during the game. Most of the times it's on the left or the right side, and sometimes it's fully in the middle. Um, that part actually is very close to my heart, and I will be honest, it's very Dutch, right? The idea of football, a space and connection. Johan Cruyff, one of our famous players, he was also trainer and player at Barcelona. He was talking about that decades ago with no computers at all. He just saw it. He had that mathematical football brain. And now the model draws the picture of what he was describing at that time. And he would never either loved it or hated it, probably both, I think. He was not that much of a computer man. But two more to watch. Player load. The team knows how far each player has run, how many high speed sprints, how many they have left. In a tournament where you play maybe 7 matches in a month in summer heat across different cities with different time zones, that recovery data does not decide a stat. It decides who starts the semifinal and the set pieces. The quiet one, the corners, the free kicks, the throw ins, teams study them how they like chess openings, like Centaur chess, where we talked about during human amplification. Um, because they are one of the few moments you can rehearse and control. Nothing about that near post run was an accident. Somebody drew it on a screen last Tuesday. Right? The good news for everyone at home is that you can see this now. The graphics, the speed number, the heat maps. It used to live inside them, inside the team. Now it's on your screen between replays. Once you see it, you start watching the shape instead of the ball, which raises the obvious question: where did this whole obsession with measuring everything actually came from? Igor, I believe this one is yours.
Yes, it's mine. And I've been waiting the whole episode for it because I love the story. It's a pretty good story. A lot of people love it because it became a book and it became a movie, um, which is great. If you see the real the person real life, he does not look anything like Brad Pitt. So please, if you when you do a movie about my life, choose carefully. Yeah, Brad Pitt could do a good one. But anyway, um, as I said before, we have some ways, some very primitive, isolated cases where specific coaches, or specific assistants or even players had some kind of statistical approach to the game. And I'm talking about many sports, like even in football, in the US, they call soccer, blame the British. They were actually who called that first, and then they stopped calling. The Americans continue calling. But anyway, um, we have like goalkeepers before that for penalty kicks. They knew like one of the some of the main players in the other team if they mostly like kick to the left or to the right. So they kind of have that, but it was kind of affiliated. You don't have like a computer to compute hundreds or thousands of data points. So none of that started with actually football. When I say football here, guys, is how the whole world call the sport. So for Americans, I'm talking about soccer, but it's football. Anyway, it started with baseball, actually. And one broke team that could not afford to lose the way everyone else lost. It was a small team, so they have to be smarter um, um, to win the game, to have a chance. And we're talking about the Oakland Athletics uh, in early 2000, and they had almost no money. There was a small team in a small market. Their best players kept getting bought by the richer teams, like the Yankees and Red Sox. And the general manager, Billy Bean, asked a question that was almost heretical, especially in a sport that is very superstitious and conservative and traditional, baseball. So his question was, what if everything scouts have been valued for 100 years, and even the fans is wrong or partially wrong? And there was a very dangerous questions to ask in a room full of people who have done it for hundreds of years. That, oh, we're the experts. I mean, don't bring those nerds from universities to tell us how to play the game. So, but the insight, with the help of a young analyst out of economics, was that the market was paying for the wrong things. So they were playing for like the flashy highlights, like the flashy start, like players who locked the part and home runs, for example. And it was undervaluing the boring, not glamorous thing that actually win the games. The classic example is on base percentage. So can this player get on base? It's not pretty. It's not, it doesn't make to the highlights on TV, but it's very effective. So they bought the undervalued players nobody wanted because the numbers said they were good in a way the eye missed. The statistics said, oh, those are the players you want, and they're cheap. So great deal. And they won. They won a lot. They won, I think, over 20 consecutive games for the first time in history on a fraction of the budget.
Yep.
So they made a book about it and a film after that. And the real legacy is not that. It's not in Hollywood. It's the change in mindset. Question the gut. Measure what matters. Find value, hidden value, where others not even bother looking. And what I'm talking about, of course, the book and movie Moneyball. And here is the part people get wrong. The lesson is not the data beats humans. No, I mean, the humans still have to play the game, of course, and that's why we still like sports and this is very popular. But it is that the obvious metric were lying to everyone. Like the scouts were not stupid; they were measuring the wrong things very confidently, which is dangerous. So Moneyball is not really a story about computers. It is a story about being honest about what you actually know. So that is one team, one sport, finding an edge. And the interesting question is how it escaped baseball and got into everything. So, Angelika.
Yeah, so I will continue later on with basketball. But there's actually a fun fact about Billy Bean. He has some shares of one of the clubs in my region, which is about 20 kilometers from my home. They were friends. The chairman of the club was friends with Billy Bean, and they asked him to become an advisor. And he started out as an advisor and minor shareholder. He has roughly about 5%, and he does that since 2015. His impact helped a lot, right? Because it helped our club AZ Alkmaar identify undervalued players, and here again it's about undervaluated players, and optimize their roster value, serving as a prominent blueprint for data and analytics in European football. So at the nowadays he's not active anymore, but he still holds his shares of the football club. So that's rather amazing that there is a connection from Moneyball towards a club in Amsterdam. And I actually have written about it as well, the story, in my book Data Literacy in Practice, because it's a very important topic, right?
Yeah.
We have to. Sometimes we think we see things, but we don't measure that what actually matters, and that's the true lesson I believe here. Um,
And let me just add something in here. When you say
yeah,
like undervalued players, that actually applies not only sports, but let me start with another sports analogy. So I remember Brazil in 1994. We won the World Cup after I think 24 years. I mean, the last time we won was with Pelé, Jairzinho, Clodoaldo, Rivelino in 1970. And so 24 years, a lot of hope and disappointment. And then in 1994, we finally won, and everybody was praising like the big scorers like Romario and Bebeto, which they should, because they were like amazing players and they play amazingly well together. But there were some players in midfield and defense. They were actually, if you ask the coach and actually people who actually understand and study the game, say, yeah, those are the ones that who should be praised, because they were the quietly ones organizing the whole thing and making sure the stars could, run, fly, and score. That was the goal. That was the key to their game. And in companies, a lot of times that is true. Like let's speak like a consulting company. A lot of times you praise those employees who have the most billable hours, or who work in this like amazing project and it was highly successful, and you praise them. But there was sometimes the quieter, sometimes not as quiet, but there was some the other employees, they don't have as many billable hours, they working behind the scenes, but there was the one that keeping the whole structure. There was the one making sure everybody has what they need to succeed. And they usually not praise. Sometimes actually they are final blame. But anyway, in every company, you also have the same kind of thing. And sometimes you're evaluating the wrong thing. Sometimes you're evaluating one thing, but your actual value it's something else. So think about it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you want to talk about basketball, right?
yeah. I wanted to talk about basketball because that's also involved in tracking, and so basketball is one of the loudest examples that we can find. Somebody did the math on the 3-point shot, right? And a three is worth 50% more than a two. And I used to be a very good basketball player. I almost made it to the Dutch junior team. And I was a guard. And I'm short, right, Igor? I'm very short, but I was tremendously fast, and I could jump shot very easily with my length. So, yeah, this is a story close to my heart. So again, a three-pointer is worth 50% more than two. So if you can make them at a decent rate, the whole geometry of the game changes. And over about a decade, basketball just transformed. Teams shoot from a distance now in a way that would have looked insane to a coach in the 90s, because I think I was playing in the beginning of the 80s, right? And I was continuously running and making those shots close to the net. And it changed completely. Three shots are more valuable now. And that is in case where data did not change how the game is managed. It changed how the game is played. The thing on the court looks differently now because of a spreadsheet. And then the NFL and the fourth down dimensions. For years, coaches pointed out that because that is what you do. The number set actually in a lot of those spots go for it, and slowly the coaches would trusted the math and started winning those margins. And then they really instrumented sports. And yeah, one of my other favorite sports is the Formula One, and it's the extreme of everything. A modern car has hundreds of sensors streaming data every lap. And the race is partly being run by a room full of engineers reading telemetry and telling the driver when to pit, what to do, what buttons to push, and so on. And cycling is actually the same. You know, we have seen some amazing cycling solutions in sport analytics at Qlik Connect. Uh, they have power meters and everything what is measured, and the whole Tour de France strategy is now actually a data exercise wearing lycra, also a difficult word for a Dutchie. And what gets me is how total it became. There is basically no serious professional sport left, the gut, where the gut alone is enough. And you still have the great instincts. I believe that, for example, Max Verstappen, he has the whole package. He has very great instincts. He can read and feel the car just like Ayrton Senna did. Huh? He was also one of the best drivers I have ever seen films of. And now, and that's actually the real beyond Moneyball point, right? Moneyball was one team finding an edge nobody else had. And now it's the water everybody swims in. The edge is gone. The question changed. It's not do you use data, it's do you use it better than the team across from you? Which brings us to a real club doing exactly that. And it's not one of the giants, Igor. And I believe you wanted this section?
Yeah, I did. It's and because when people think sports data, they think like the big ones, the Real Madrid, the Red Sox, and the if we were watching the video, Atlético Mineiro, Galo, my club in Brazil. But or maybe in Formula One team with a budget bigger than a small country. And you Dutch and Brazil, we have another thing in common. We love like Formula One car racing. But I want to talk about a hockey team in Sweden. And actually, we both got to interview one of their executives, and we got to go to their actually the facility in Sweden last year. And this is when there was a very good visit because it really surprised me in many good ways. So we're talking about the Malmo Red Hawks. Is a Swedish professional ice hockey team. So they play in the Swedish hockey league, and it's not like $1 billion operation. It's a real club trying to get more out of what he has. And what they did is to partner with Qlik and a Qlik partner company that build a system on top of it, on top of Qlik, and on top of all of the data get collecting technology. And the whole point is to pull every messy stream of data about a player into one place a coach can actually read, and that is Qlik. And it's not just like goals and assists. They collect from cameras during the game, team and individual statistics, and much more. So you get when a player took a shot, from where, what happened, but also how hard they are working in training, how their body is holding up, all of that, and the health statistics and all of that. And here's the part that I did not expect. Then they blend in player well-being, like mental health, which is ignored and a lot of times. How the player is actually doing as a human, not just as a set of sprint numbers. And that goes into the same picture the coaches see. And I think that is the most modern thing about it. For a long time, analytics treated athletes like machines, output, efficiency, load. And this is the opposite direction. It's using data to take better care of the human being, of the person.
Yeah.
So, and it pays off in a very concrete way. One of the big use cases is in injury prevention. The system can flag when a player is it's heading toward an injury or has overloaded a muscle in training before it becomes a real problem. For a club that size, that is not a luxury; it's survival. If you're not deep in talent, and I'm not saying they are not, but losing a key player for 6 weeks is a disaster. And on game day, the coach can start the healthiest players instead of guessing. And scouting works the same way. Instead of just watching a guy and going, yeah, he looks good, you get a full picture: performance, consistency, how the body responds, how the player fits into their system. So then you make a smarter bet. And this is the Moneyball idea grown all the way up. So Auckland A's were hunting undervalued players with a spreadsheet. Malmo is looking after the players they already have with live sensor data and one screen that ties everything together in Qlik. But it's the same instinct 20 years of technology later. But now we have more technology, so we can do more things. And uh, of course, our listeners know that Qlik it's a name brand product. Angelika and I know well in our day jobs. I mean, we Qlik ambassadors, of course, but honestly, this is also why this story lands for us. We see what these tools do with messy data all the time. I mean, data quality is a huge thing. Um, just usually in an office, in a hospital, not on ice. So that was pretty cool. And how this all is even possible now when it was not possible 20 years ago. So let's talk about tech. And Angelika,
For the
take us there.
for the non-taker that had to study. Yeah, so let me add on something as well. The Dutch rugby team, the women and the men, have also the vests with the GPS tracker, and we build a ClickSense dashboard for the Dutch rugby team, men and women, which holds also their distance, the impact of the clashes, the scrums, the meters run, the heartbeat, and so on. So it became really a very nice dashboard. And now even they have the bits that they use to protect the teeth. There is a chip inside that measures the impact and the number of G's that is um, hit. Now even during the game, there comes a signal when the impact was too high, so that there could be a head injury and that there needs to be a head check. uh, the player can be sent off the field to have a head check, and he will be gone for about 10 minutes to get that check. So many things more. It's really growing beyond our imagination. So before I get nerdy, which I'm actually not, but I'm trying to be, uh, three things. First, the sensors. Wearables got cheap and small. The RFID chips are super small, and you can put them anywhere. Even trackers you can put them on any player and not slow them down. Heart rate, position, acceleration, all of this, and continuously, constantly. Secondly, we have the cameras and computer vision. You can point cameras at the game and have software automatically follow all the 22 players at the ball with no humans tagging frames by hand. I used to did that at the rugby games. This is a try. This is a throw in. This is a scrum. This is phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's all done by computer vision. So and that grew beyond my imagination. And thirdly, and this part is easy to forget. Once you have all of that, it's a flood. It's useless, or it's useless if a coach cannot understand it. So you need platforms that turns millions of data points into something a human can read in seconds. A clear picture. And that, guys, is the Qlik piece. That's the dashboard piece. And that is the part that people underrate. The magic is not about collecting the data. Everybody can collect data now. The magic is making sense to a tired coach and 10 at night who has a game tomorrow. A number nobody can read is just noise. The whole game is turning noise into actually a decision, which is the optimistic version, right? Because we promised to be honest, Igor. So I guess you get the uncomfortable part.
Sure thing. It can go wrong, so that's
Yeah,
the part people don't want to talk about it. Um, and because the game is not just numbers. Otherwise, I mean, why bother playing? Just run the numbers, and yeah, you won on the spreadsheet on a dashboard. No. Um, and the biggest risk for me is overcoaching. When you measure everything, there is a temptation to optimize everything, and you can squeeze the life out of a player. You can remove all of the instinct, the improvisation. um, you try to make the player like a robot, so the bit of magic you cannot put in a spreadsheet and you take that out. And yes, that's the Brazilian me talking. And the football I fell in love with was not optimal. It was a guy doing something no model will ever recommend, and it being beautiful. Um, and you cannot remove that. So I remember from my personal experience, the first World Cup that I have some memory of it was 1982. I don't remember games or matches or anything because I was only 5. But I remember my parents crying, and I remember a few things. And what I know from later on, learning about it, is that 1982 for Brazil, it was possibly one of the best teams Brazil had.
yeah.
Possibly one of the best teams Brazil had. And then Brazil lost
At least
after
in my
playing
way.
a great game. It lost to Italy, and I believe Italy even became the champion that year. So Brazil lost to Italy, and then all the TV so-called experts, they were not experts. They were talk a lot of BS. But all these analysts and critics, and they were saying, yeah, because Brazilian team, it's only the beauty, it has no discipline. We should play more like the Europeans because like Germany has no beauty, but they won, they win, and the Italy no beauty, but they win. Let's play a more effective football, and it was disaster because that was not in our identity. There was no why like kids, small kids in like in poor parts of the country, fall in love with the sport, and then they develop. No, kids like Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and many others. We have other names.
Yeah,
Um,
what can I ask you something? I
yeah,
remember Brazil, I believe, has one of the most beautiful playing styles, right? The samba football, tick tock,
yeah,
tick. And you can see nowadays that that type of football, the samba football, is also going to other teams. There's a
yeah.
different approach. Yeah, so I
Yeah, like
really
yeah, Spain being one of them, like yeah, and other. Yeah, we had this idea that talent and beautiful game was something South Americans can do, like Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina. But no, yeah, no, it's everywhere. And then we because we did that when it was terrible and we didn't win. When we won again when we got back to that same style. And on the other hand, we have also on paper the best team in the world in 2006. We just won the World Cup in 2002, 2006. So we have like every player in the team, it was at least top 5 in their position worldwide. Every single player, from the goalkeeper to the to our like most famous players like Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. We have Roberto Carlos. We have Cafu. We have like some of they were top 5 every single position, and we lost. Um, and so it was, and we lost to France, which was even worse. Um, what we yeah we don't play well against France in the World Cups. I don't know what happens. And that reminds me the good heart law, and we mentioned the good heart law many times in the episode, but it's true. When you start measuring, when you start focusing on a measure, the measure stops being a good measure for a goal. And so if you optimize too much, you lose that beautiful part of the game. You lose the improvisation. You lose the individual talent. That sometimes when the game is too close, like it's that individual talent, that the flash of like improvisation that actually wins the game. Especially in a sport like football, soccer. Um, and there is also the danger of treating players as numbers. A player has a bad month, the dashboard sells well, and you forget that there is a person there having a hard time. Their Red Hawks approach actually pushes against that, which is exactly why I like it. But not everyone uses that way, and that can be confidently wrong. Remember the Moneyball lesson. The old scouts measure the wrong things with total confidence. The same thing can happen now, even with all of the numbers we have available. You can build a beautiful model on a bad assumption and trust it more because yeah, it has math on it. I can calculate it. So yeah, of course it's the truth. And a number feels objective even when it's built on a shaky choice somebody made months ago. So the honest answer is the human still wins games, and that's great because that's why we like sports.
Yeah.
The data makes the human better. So it's not replacing the coach who knows what the player needs. That, for example, this player needs an arm around the shoulder, not a heat map. Tools, not oracles. All right. So it's not replacing, but it's enhancing. It's helping. Um, but enough philosophy for this episode. We started with the World Cup, and I'll say we should end up back there. Angelika, give the people their predictions. So I'll ask you why Brazil is going to win this time. I'm kidding.
I hope no. For me, number one is Netherlands, of course, and number two is Brazil. As long as it's not Argentina.
We agree on that. Great.
Yeah, as long as it's not Argentina. So let's talk about prediction, right? And I will speak for the both of us, since I know exactly what Igor is going to say anyway. So here's what I think the data shows up most this tournament: set pieces. I think this is the World Cup where someone goes deep on the back of a rehearsed set pieces that the data department designed. Watch the corners, the spontaneous ones, and watch the player loads in the knockout rounds. When you see a team's distance covered and a sprint counts fall of a clip in the second half, that is the tournament catching up to the legs. It's a lot of games, right, Igor? It's a lot of games they have to play. So the team that manages its players' bodies best might quietly go further than its talent alone says it should. And that, by the way, is Igor's predictions. Smart, a little boring, but very correct, right? For the casual fan at home, the one number to keep an eye on is XG versus actual goals. When a team is way outperforming its XG, enjoy it, but it usually does not last. Regression comes for everyone. So now the fun part: who wins? I believe, and Igor is legally obligated as a Brazilian to say Brazil. So consider that said. And me, I've had my heart broken by the Dutch team many, many times. Even last week when we played 1-1 against Japan. It was a crazy game.
It was an amazing game to watch, but yeah,
Oh man,
I want Netherlands to win that game. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Brazil the same. We also tied, so we're in the same boat.
yeah. And well, this year I will say cautiously, quietly, with a full risk assessment, a touch to nothing at all. I hope that Netherlands wins, so I will say hope. And when that is not happening, Brazil, and even when that's not happening, you can draw your own conclusions. The beautiful thing here is that data can tell us almost everything except one thing we actually watch for. The moment nobody predicted, which is the perfect place to hand it back to Igor to close this session out. Right, Igor? Let's talk
Exactly.
football again.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So and And the thing that keeps coming back to me from this one, it's how quietly all of it
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
We now we all talk about it, but was like after the fact. Um, we and it was out of as many things humans invent and innovate. It was because of necessity, because of lack of resources. Now we need to be more creative. That's a big driver for innovation, by the way.
yeah,
So we cannot wake up one day and decide a sport should be measured. It crept in. A broke baseball team looking for an edge. A basketball coach doing the math on a three. That's why, like in NBA, people saying, "Oh, the game is not as beautiful as before," because there's a lot of shoots from three, and sometimes it annoys me so much because I'm a Boston Celtics fan, like huge fan, and like they keeping shooting threes and missing and missing, and they keep doing it. Just go do the obvious. But there is it's obvious to us, but there isn't a statistics behind the scenes that said, oh, even the probability of converting a three smaller than two, if you multiply by the number of points, the overall possible number of points you score, it's higher. And actually, the numbers tell you that because if you look at the numbers, the average scoring it's higher now than it was before. So anyway,
yeah.
not by much, but it's higher, and you don't need much. Like 2 3 points more than the opponent, you win. Even 1 point more than the opponent, you win. So in a hockey club in Sweden, was trying to keep its player healthy. So one small, reasonable decision at a time, one at a time, until the whole thing was running on data, and we barely noticed. And it would be easy to be cynical about that. And by the way, that only like talking about the Oakland Athletics, that only happened because Billy Bean and his team, they have the support of the ownership. Sometimes you need to let your players play, and if you're a company, you need to let your some, not everybody, but some of your talent employees, just let them be creative, let them innovate, let them lose a little bit, and see what they bring back. Sometimes you'll be honestly surprised.
I believe.
And
I believe, by the way, talent management will be one of the most important elements in HR during
mhm,
the 5 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
and a lot of people say that the numbers took this so out of the game. And we heard that so many times in history. There's something, oh, it took this out of the game, like, oh, advertisement, or this or that. But I don't think that's what happened. The magic's still there. I mean, millions of people still watching. Um, in the past, nobody saw coming, and still the reason we watch. Data did not replace any of that.
no,
It got underneath, and it made smart people smarter, and it gave smaller teams a fighting chance against bigger wallets. And actually, I think it's an interesting thing because before, like, let's talk about football. Before in the World Cup, it was kind of an easy prediction. It will be either one of the big teams will have like a real chance. In Brazil, Germany, France, Spain, Netherlands, Argentina. I'm sad to say their name, but it's true. So we have like a small number of, and even today, if you see how many teams won World Cup, I think there were not many. Like Brazil, and then we got Germany and Italy and Spain and France and Uruguay. Well, Uruguay was like a long time ago. They won like in the 1930 and 50. So they were, and I think that's about it. Maybe I'm missing some. Um, so we were confined in 6-7. Now, if you watch the games, like last World Cup, Argentina in their first game they lost to Saudi Arabia, which was like, if I knew, I would bet and I would make a lot of money. And now the game is more balanced, it's more equal, and it's as that is fun because that's actually interesting games all the time. So data did not replace that; it just got underneath it. And the part I did not expect to find, um, and I'm hopeful about it. I really do. Is the Red Hawk part? The best version of this is not about squeezing more out of an athlete. It's about understanding them as a whole, the player and the human, and also catching the injury before it happens, seeing the person, not just the sprint count. If that is where sports analytics is heading, then yeah, great, and count me in. So this summer, watch the World Cup. Watch for the magic, obviously, for the beautiful game, but maybe watch for the shape too. The runs, the spaces, the suspicious, well rehearsed corner. You will see a second game hiding underneath the first one. And once you see it, believe me, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah.
So I think we score another goal. Thanks, Angelica, for making this one so much fun. For everyone listening, for the Marble Red Hawks, the Qlik story is worth a read. So you can go to the Qlik website. There's a story.
Yeah.
There's a customer story there. And if you want to go deeper, in our episode show notes, we post some links. And again, this is beyond sports. In every company, we have this. We can have the same mentality. See you next time. Bye, Angelica.
Bye, Igor. Oi,
Bye,
pessoal.
Brasil.
Data